The grand amphitheater of Zirthal Station hummed with anticipation. Crystalline seats arranged in concentric circles held thousands of spectators from across the galaxy. Velcorians with their bioluminescent skin, Threnix delegates with multiple sensory appendages, and dozens of other species who had gathered for the Centennial Harmony Festival. At the center of the stage sat Commander James Chen, the sole human representative, looking decidedly out of place among the galaxy's most celebrated musicians. A human? Koresh, the Velcorian maestro, clicked his mandibles in what could only be described as amusement. His skin flickered through shades of purple and orange, colors that his species used to convey mockery. You honor us with your presence, but surely you understand that music requires more than just opposable thumbs. Laughter rippled through the audience, a symphony of chirps, whistles, and harmonic frequencies that human ears couldn't fully process. Chen remained still, his dark eyes fixed on the instrument before him, the Xenotone, a magnificent construct of living crystal and quantum-entangled strings that responded to both physical touch and emotional resonance. It was considered the most difficult instrument in the known galaxy, requiring not just technical skill but a deep connection to the universal harmonics that bound all sentient life. The Xenotone has broken many accomplished musicians, added Silvara, a Threnix composer whose 17 arms had produced some of the most complex compositions in galactic history. Her tone dripped with condescension. What makes you think a species that has barely mastered interstellar travel can comprehend something so refined? Chen finally spoke, his voice quiet but steady. On Earth we have a saying, music is the universal language. I'd like to test that theory. More laughter. Even the dignified Takani ambassadors, usually reserved, allowed themselves a subtle gesture of dismissal. Koresh gestured magnanimously toward the Xenotone. Please, human, entertain us. Show us what your primitive world considers music. Chen approached the instrument. The Xenotone pulsed with an inner light, its crystalline structure refracting the station's artificial starlight into 1,000 dancing colors. He settled onto the performer's platform, his hands hovering over the strings. For a moment he simply sat there, breathing. The audience grew restless. Then he closed his eyes. Chen's fingers touched the first string and a pure note rang out. Simple, unadorned. The audience shifted uncomfortably. How pedestrian, how basic. But then something unexpected happened. The second note came, then a third, and Chen began to weave them together not with the technical precision the galaxy's finest musicians employed, but with something else entirely. Something raw, something that bypassed the intellect and spoke directly to that ancient part of consciousness that existed before language, before civilization, before species had names for themselves. He played loneliness, not the concept of loneliness, not a mathematical representation of isolation, but the actual feeling, that hollow ache that every sentient being had experienced when staring into the void of space and comprehending their own insignificance. The Xenotone responded, its quantum strings vibrating in frequencies that shouldn't have been possible, creating harmonics that resonated in the chest, cavities and neural clusters of every species. Present Koresh's bioluminescent skin shifted to deep blue, confusion, mixing with something he couldn't name. Chen's playing intensified. He poured into the Xenotone humanity's entire history, the loneliness of being the only sentient species on their world for hundreds of thousands of years, the desperation of looking up at the stars and wondering if they were alone in the universe, the fierce burning hope that somewhere out there, someone else was looking back. Silvara's 17 arms went limp. One of her auxiliary hearts skipped a beat. The music shifted. Chen played the joy of first contact, the relief of discovering that humanity wasn't alone after all. But woven through that joy was something more complex, the fear of being found wanting, the shame of being the newcomers, the youngest children in a galaxy of ancient civilizations. He played humanity's determination to prove themselves worthy. Every setback, every mockery endured, every door slammed in their faces by species who considered them barbaric upstarts. And beneath it all, the unshakable human stubbornness that refused to give up, refused to accept that they didn't belong among the stars. The Xenotone blazed with light now, responding to emotions it had never been asked to channel before. The instrument, designed to showcase technical mastery and intellectual sophistication, was being used to channel something far more primal, the raw, unfiltered experience of being alive, of struggling, of refusing to surrender. In the audience, tears began to fall. The Velcorians wept bioluminescent fluid that traced glowing paths down their faces. The Threnics produced harmonic sobs that created interference patterns in the air. Even the Takani, whose species hadn't cried in 10,000 years of evolution, felt moisture gathering in their optical sensors, because Chen wasn't just playing music. He was playing truth. He was showing them what they had forgotten in their millions of years of civilization and refinement, that beneath all their sophistication, all their technology and culture and art, they were all still just fragile beings trying to find meaning in an incomprehensibly vast universe. That loneliness and hope and determination and joy weren't human emotions. They were universal ones. The final note hung in the air for an eternity, sustained by the Xenotone's quantum resonance, before finally fading into silence. Chen opened his eyes. The amphitheater was absolutely quiet. Then Koresh stood, his skin cycling through colors that had no human translation. Respect, awe, humility, recognition. He placed his primary manipulator over his central heart. "I understand now," he said softly, "why your species has survived, why you've thrived despite every obstacle." His voice broke slightly. "You don't just make music. You are music. Every struggle, every triumph, every moment of your existence is a note in a song that refuses to end." Silvara approached the stage, all 17 arms extended in the Threnic's gesture of deepest respect. "We mocked you because we had forgotten what it means to truly feel." "Forgive us," Chen stood and bowed. "There's nothing to forgive. You gave me a chance to remind you of something important." He smiled, "that we're all playing the same song, just in different keys." The applause that followed wasn't just sound, it was understanding, acceptance, and the recognition that humanity had finally, truly, earned their place among the stars. Not through military might or technological advancement, but through the oldest power in the universe, the ability to make others feel, to create connection, to transform pain and hope and determination into something beautiful. The Xenotone dimmed, satisfied, having finally met a musician who understood its true purpose.